What's up, guys? My name is Chris, and this is Palmer Aquatics, the fish tank and houseplant chaos. So in today's video, I want to talk about my favorite aquarium plant of all time, and that is the Amazon sword. So we have an Amazon sword in pretty much every single tank above 10 gallons because for starters, the Amazon sword, it grows fairly large, most of them. Granted, there's a ton of different types. You got melon swords. There's tons of them. But as you can see, they grow fairly large. This is a sword plant in here, and this is like in the middle of its growth. This is a 55-gallon aquarium. For starters, what makes this plant my favorite plant on the planet is its foliage. Like, it gets so green. Here, let's go over here and show them some of these over here. These 20-gallon talls, look at how full this Amazon sword is. This is a 20-gallon tall, and it literally just fills out the tank. For the most part, we try to have an Amazon sword in every 20-gallon and above aquarium because they just look and they're just amazing. And I feel like having a large, because you want different types of plants in an aquarium, and having like a sword plant be like the center of attention, it really kind of helps like absorb a lot of the lighting, etc. So for starters, it's a large plant, so like a smaller tank, like a 10-gallon aquarium, is not good, or like a 20-gallon long is obviously too low, because Amazon swords, they grow like this large, and that's what makes them amazing. So for starters, we literally haven't found an Amazon sword we can't grow yet. We have them in gravel tanks. One thing that I find that, because we sell a lot of plants locally, and when people go to try to buy Amazon swords, they always say, I want the large Amazon swords. And I always tell them that's not the best case scenario, because even though a lot of these pet stores, they sell these large Amazon swords, what happens is when you bring it home and you put it in your aquarium, a lot of times it completely dies back. And the reason is because two reasons. Whiskey's got to be in the video like this, bud? Come on. But there's two reasons why the Amazon sword in a lot of aquariums die back. Number one is because your water is completely different. And number two, the light is completely different. God, he's going to destroy this whole video, isn't he? These two cats. It's like a farm around here. But yeah, so a lot of times it doesn't matter if you're trying to buy a large plant, because chances are you're gonna spend $20 on a sword like this at a pet store. But when you bring it home and throw it in there, it's going to die back. So it's a waste of money. I always tell people to plant the Amazon sword right in the middle of your aquarium because it gives it a lot of room. Like, this is an Amazon sword here, and I would say this was planted too close to the glass because it's going to fan out, and then the leaves are going to be too close to the glass. Amazon swords are a heavy root feeder, and what that means is that it's getting most of its nutrients from the substrate. Amazon swords, they will do okay in gravel. Like, this is a gravel / sand tank over here. And what happens is the Amazon sword grows, but it's at a much slower process because the roots of these plants want to be feeding on a lot of the nutrients. Here, I'll pull this guy out here because this guy hasn't been getting a lot of sun, and there's no nutrients in here at all. So what's happening here, this is what an Amazon sword looks like. Ideally, and you can tell we cut this off of one of our mother plants. The mother plant, this is what a mother plant looks like. You can see it's running a shooter here out of the plant, and then those are all going to be babies. And what we do essentially is we just come and cut the babies and we plant them. On average, swords, little swords like this will be like $6 to, I've seen all the way to like $20 at PetSmart. What's funny is PetSmart and Petco, they'll sell the Amazon swords in like those plastic tubes, and a lot of times they're grown out of water, and the beginner fish keeper brings them in, puts them in their tank, and it completely dies back. And they're like, well, what the heck's going on? It's because the plant has to completely transition over. A lot of times, if we have new swords, we buy them from a pet store, what I'll do is I'll completely chop the entire plant. And there's a good example of that in our puffer tank. We'll literally chop the entire plant, because what's going to happen is the entire thing is going to die back anyways. You can see we cut that all back, and that's new growth. This is an all gravel, all sand setup, so the growth is going to be really slow. but it's still, they still do grow. That's the big difference, because these are root feeders. This is where it gets all the nutrients, the roots. I don't know what this is, like a dead leaf or something. But so the fact that they're root feeders, this means that we want a substrate that has some nutrients in it. Gravel and sand has 0 nutrients. So soil, most of our tanks in here are actual soil, and I have a video on that. I'll throw a link in the description box if you're interested. It's a cheap DIY plant soil, or also you can go fluval stratum. There's tons of different options as far as planted tank substrates, but just know that some of them are expensive. So, and I'll throw some links. If you're looking to buy Amazon swords online also, I'll throw a link to my favorite seller below. If not, maybe there's a possibility that I might start selling some of these. I don't know. But yeah, guys, this plant, super easy plant. It's my favorite plant. Literally, all you have to do, bring it home and just plant it into the substrate. It's really not hard. Sometimes if you chop back some of these roots, it will stimulate the roots. But yeah, super easy plant to grow. Absolutely fit. What do you say? Oh yeah, there's tons of different kinds of sword plants, and this one's taking forever to grow. And the reason is because it doesn't get enough light, because all these pothos are blocking it. But yeah, there's all kinds of cool sword plants. We have this. This is a sword. Oh, this one right here. Okay. Yeah, this is a sword plant I've never even seen. Honestly, I have a hard time believing it is an actual sword plant, because it seems like the sword plants have bigger leaves. You know, there's melon swords. But yeah, I'm trying to... Micro sword? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, as far as water temperature, we have no issues growing them as long as it's not too cold. You want a tall enough tank, and the best lighting is anything around 6,500 Kelvin. If you don't want to complicate it though, literally just any aquarium plant LED light. You know, there's cheap ones like Hygger, Beamswork, and just if I were to spend any money on anything, it would be the substrate for plants that with nutrients and the light. So, and I have tons of different videos on like different shop lights, you know, because like these are literally shop lights. They're $16 at Walmart. You know, I have tons of videos on that stuff as well. So I think I've covered everything. Oh, root tabs. Root tabs are like little pellets. I can grab some of those. Sometimes if you're using gravel and sand aquariums, a lot of times these root tabs work super good. I'll throw a link in the description box. Essentially, they're like little pill capsules that if you're using a gravel and sand aquarium, you just use like a tweezers and you literally just like put it in the substrate next to the roots, kind of, or like 4 inches around the plant. And this is like a mixture of dirt and nutrients that the plants want. That really helps Amazon swords, because they're hungry plants. Give them a lot of light and give them nutrients, and they're just going to explode. So I think that about does it. I will throw a link in the description box if you're looking to buy Amazon swords to my favorite seller. That kind of changes from time to time. So yeah, hit us up in the comment section if you have any questions on Amazon swords. Easily my favorite plant in the hobby, because they're just so colorful and they're so easy. There's nothing more to say.